Welcome to Academy of Kimball Martial Arts 7-Day Challenge. We're on day 3. Thank you for joining me. So just to recap, we've learned some basic stances. We've done the rising block. We learned how to thrust punch. Today what we're going to do is we're going to do some leg work, and we're going to put the stances in it, which is kind of the foundation. Once we get that, we're in the home stretch. Okay, so let's just start. It's going to be about 15 minutes here. By the time we're done with today's lesson, you're going to have the basic leg motions for your form. Okay, so what we're going to do is start from that neutral position. For now, just put your hands on your hips from here so you can focus just on the legs. We're going to just do this in 3 different levels. Level 1 is to keep your feet on the ground. So we're going to slide back, do a right bow stance, and we're going to pivot to the left bow, and we're going to slide step forward to the right bow. And then this is quarter 1 of the form, and there will be a slight pause here. Okay, so let's just do that a couple of times. I'm going to do it from the back here so you can follow along with me. So we're going to go right bow, turn to the left bow, slide step to the right bow. Okay, so again, it goes right bow, left bow, right bow. Okay, that's quarter 1. So we're going to go slide back, turn, slide forward. Now we're going right into quarter 2. Slide back to where you were, pivot, and step forward. Okay, so we're going to do this again. We're step, pivot, step, quarter 1, slide back, pivot, slide forward, quarter 2. And I'm going to do this toward the camera a little bit, so you can just see it from the front view, and then I'll go back to it. So the object of this is, you don't have to worry about memorizing what we're doing right now. Just follow along, and what you're going to find out is that as we put them together, it's going to make it a lot easier. So in essence, I've gone 1 quarter here, 1 quarter there. So it's half the form with the legs. Okay, so I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'll turn around and do a couple. So it goes 1, 2. Okay, so let's just do this as an exercise a couple of times together. Okay. 1, 2, back. 1, 2, back. 1, 2, back. 1, 2. Okay, it's really that easy. We're halfway done. So the other one's going to take a little bit of extra work for just a second. So it's quarter 3. So let me get you. That was 1. This is 2. Okay, so quarter 3. We're going to step over with the back leg over the front leg. And the stance is an open X. We haven't experienced this yet, but I'll explain in just a second. But you're going to step over, you're going to pivot, and then you're going to slide step again. I think you're seeing the pattern here, right? It's actually, there's some repetition here. Let's go over that open X for just a second here. So from the left area, your toes are slightly facing forward. This back leg just lifts up and sets straight down. Okay, it's a 45-degree angle, straight. Distance is, this knee's tucked up under this knee, you're fine. So just take a natural step and kind of keep the toes where they are. You want to not be this way where you have balance. You're really going to crank those toes to your right. Okay? And then this is called an open X. So the movement from this angle is step, pivot, step. Okay? So forward view, step, pivot, step. And for the back view, which is what the form is, if you're following me along, step over, pivot, forward. Okay, so that's quarter number 3. let's go through all the way up to that part again. So I'll face this direction. So quarter number 1, step, pivot. Quarter number 2, step, pivot. Quarter number 3, step, pivot, step. Okay, almost there. Okay, so I'm going to do it again backwards here, or facing away from you. Okay, so it's going to go slide back, turn, slide forward. That's 1. Slide back, turn, slide forward. That's 2. Step over, pivot, slide forward. That's 3. Okay, so adding the next motion, we're just going to pivot, slide step, and then stand up. That's the whole form in the legs. Now, when we do the forms, it's going to look a bit different than that because we're going to lift our leg up instead of step, but the stepping is where our feet land is all the same. I'm going to do it once forward so you can kind of just see it. So we're going to step back to the right bow, turn to the left bow, slide to the right bow, back to the left bow, slide, or pivot to the right bow, slide to the left. We're going to step over here, pivot, slide step, pivot. Now we're in the last quarter, slide step, and stand up. And if everything works out well, we are starting where we're ending, which is in the same spot. So I'm going to turn back around, and you can follow me along, and we'll do this 3 times. And by that time, again, I don't want you to memorize it, but by that time you should have the feeling for the movement down pretty good. So here we go. Quarter 1, 1. Quarter 2, 2. Quarter 3, 3. Quarter 4, 4. And back to neutral. Here we go, all the way through it. 1. 2. 3. 3. So that's, I refer to that as level 1 with the legs, which is keeping them on the ground and learning your slide stepping. So if you can see it in the quarters, the formula is step, slide, step forward, we'll throw a punch, step, slide, step forward, we'll throw another punch. And if you can kind of see the patterns that way, a little bit bigger picture, it kind of sometimes makes a little bit more sense. Right now we're just kind of putting it all together. So let's do a real quick sort of recap of where we go, because we've actually done quite a lot in 3 days. We've learned a left bow stance, that's the left leg in front, back leg's locked, front knees bent. We've learned a horse stance, both knees pushed out to the wall, back straight, measure that 2 fist distance of the thumb. We also realized and learned that from the bow stance, turning to the horse stance, the distance is the same, so it's a good way to keep it consistent. We also learned that if we pivot all the way, we're now a right bow. Okay. We did a cat stance, which is a transitionary stage. So when we do that slide stepping, we actually go to the cat for a second and back. We also learned the slide stepping, which we use today, which is just 3 things. Stay level, bring your knees together, slide your feet if you can, and not step. We learned the rising block, and the focus on the rising block was to come up the center line and twist outward, protecting this part of your face. We learned to cross our arms a little bit and do multiple motions. This form only calls for 1 of these, but the idea is sound and it's good to understand how it works. We learned to make a fist, leopard punch, bear paw into a solid fist. We learned that the pinky needs to be pulled tight, the thumb needs to be pushed in there. We learned that we fire it from the hip, that we keep the elbow bent For protection, we hit with the first two knuckles and we twist on impact. So you have a push and pull. The left hand that's out pulls, then the right hand pushes. So one pulls the other, so they come together. This takes a little bit of coordination, but it doesn't take too long to get. And then, today, we've learned the leg motions of the form. And if you're looking at it, you're seeing the only really new thing today besides the order was this cross step, which we call an open X. Now, the open X is basically the ball of the back foot, the knee of the back leg, and the heel or the ankle of the front foot. You draw that in a straight line, lift up, you're in a open X. In the form, the open X is at a bit of a 45-degree angle. So this is the only new form, new part of the form, new knowledge today that you learned was the open X. Everything else is a pattern. So next, tomorrow on the challenge, we are going to learn the downward block, because that's part of the form, and we're going to learn the first section with the hands. Just to give you a preview, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next lesson. And this is the first quarter of the form. Hey, I'm going to, let me just do it for you. So I lifted the leg up to do a leg sweep, but I'll do it a little simpler than that. And that would be level 1, but we're going to do it in its entirety. So that is our day 3 challenge, so congratulations. You're almost halfway done, and we've almost got the whole form done. So I will see you tomorrow for the rest of this, and thank you for joining me.